The first thing nobody likes to admit is that Formula One does not begin in Formula One. It begins when kids are about 6 or 7 years old, climbing into go-karts that cost more than some people's cars. This is where the filtering starts. Karting is the front door to motorsport, and even at that level, girls are already outnumbered. Not because they are bad at it, but because fewer girls are encouraged to even try. By the time talent is being identified, the pool is already skewed. Now let's say you are a girl who does make it into karting. Great, you are racing mostly boys, training mostly with boys, and being measured against a standard that was never designed with you in mind. You are already swimming upstream, and the current gets stronger every year. But the sad part is that participation also drops at every step. By the time drivers move from karting into junior single-seaters, the percentage of women drops even more. Not because they suddenly forgot how to drive, but because staying in the sport gets brutally expensive and brutally political. And that's where the next hurdle enters the chat: money. You see, motorsport is not like football or basketball where scouts pull talent from the streets. Motorsport is basically pay to play, and every step up the ladder costs more than the last. Look at it. Formula 4 costs hundreds of thousands per season. Formula 3 costs around 1 million. Formula 2 can cost more than 2 million for a single year. By the time someone even sniffs an F1 opportunity, well, you might have burned off more than $10 million. And that is just the headline number. That figure does not even include all the hidden costs that quietly pile up in the background. Travel alone can drain families dry, because you are flying across countries and continents almost every other week. Add testing days, simulator sessions, engineers, coaches, and fitness trainers, because modern drivers are basically endurance athletes with steering wheels. What people often miss is that most of this money is spent before a driver ever earns a dollar back. Junior drivers are not salaried professionals, they are customers. In many cases, they are paying teams for the privilege of racing. If you cannot bring funding, you do not race. It does not matter how quick you were last weekend or how much potential a coach sees in you. The seat goes to whoever can write the check. This is where the system quietly filters people out, not because they are slow, but because the money dries up. One bad season, one lost sponsor, one economic downturn, and years of progress can disappear overnight. There is no safety net, no draft, no guaranteed contract waiting on the other side. So when people wonder why certain drivers never make it past Formula 3 or Formula 2, the answer is often simple. The talent did not fail, the funding did. And in a sport built like this, money decides who keeps climbing and who is forced to step off the ladder early. Even the basics like helmets, suits, and safety gear are not cheap, and you replace them often. What makes it worse is that most junior drivers are not being paid at all. In many cases, they are actually paying teams just to race. So if the money runs out, talent does not matter. The journey simply ends. Now, honestly ask yourself who gets funding more easily in a conservative, old-school, sponsor-driven environment. A young guy who fits the traditional image of a racing driver, or a young woman who investors still see as a gamble. Believe it or not, sponsors like safe bets. They want familiarity, okay? They want someone who looks like the champions they grew up watching. This is not always conscious bias, but it is very real. So by this logic, female drivers consistently get less funding, fewer chances, and shorter leashes. One bad season can end a career that never had room to breathe in the first place. But the money part is just one loop in the entire chain. Because women receive less funding, they race less. Because they race less, they get less experience. Because they get less experience, their results look weaker on paper. And because their results look weaker, sponsors feel justified pulling back. It is a perfect loop, and it quietly kills careers before they ever get momentum. And even when a woman survives the financial gauntlet, it doesn't particularly solve the next problem she faces: the car itself. Anybody who knows anything about racing sports knows that racing cars are not neutral objects. They are designed around a default body type, and that body type has historically been male. Cockpits, steering wheels, pedal boxes, and seating positions are built with male proportions in mind. So if you are smaller, have wider hips, or different muscle distribution, you are adapting to the machine instead of the machine adapting to you. Mind you, this is not just about comfort, it is about performance. It's simple. If you cannot sit perfectly, if your neck fatigues faster because your head support is not optimal, if your steering wheel feels slightly too large for your hands, lap time suffers. And in a sport where hundredths of a second decides careers, that matters. And teams are not eager to redesign expensive components for drivers who already arrive with less funding and less political backing. So again, all these problems eventually find a way to bond together. Somehow. Now, keeping all the previous factors in mind, let's add the physical demands to the mix. Formula One drivers experience extreme forces. Neck strength is critical. Upper body endurance is critical. People love to jump in here and say women are biologically weaker. End of discussion. That argument ignores reality. Strength is trainable. Women in endurance sports, combat sports, and military aviation prove that every day. The problem is not capability. The problem is access to tailored training and long-term development starting early enough. Most female drivers are expected to meet male standards without male resources. By the way, there is one more elephant in the room: the culture. Motorsport is still a boys' club, even when it pretends otherwise. Female drivers often describe environments where they are constantly questioned, subtly tested, or treated as marketing tools instead of athletes. When a male driver has a bad race, he is just having an off weekend. When a female driver has a bad race, it becomes a referendum on whether women belong at all. That pressure is exhausting, and it drives many talented drivers out long before the public ever hears their names. Representation matters more than people like to admit. If you grow up never seeing someone like you in a role, it feels unrealistic to chase it. Many young girls simply do not believe Formula One is an option, because history tells them it is not. Only 5 women have ever attempted to race in Formula One. Only 1 scored points, and none have started a Grand Prix in decades. That absence sends a message, even when nobody says it out loud. You might think things would change as the fan base changes, especially since so many new fans are women. But fandom does not equal opportunity. Media coverage still treats female drivers as novelties. Headlines focus on gender before performance. That framing reinforces the idea that women are exceptions instead of competitors. It keeps them separate, even when the intention is praise. Now let us talk about the recent initiatives, because this is where hope and frustration collide. The F1 Academy exists to support female drivers financially and structurally. It has produced dominant performances and real talent. But it is small, very small. A handful of seats cannot fix a pipeline that leaks talent at every level. There is no automatic promotion, no guaranteed progression. Once again, women are asked to prove themselves in a limited space, while men have dozens of parallel routes forward. The scale problem is impossible to ignore. F1 Academy runs just 15 full-time seats worldwide each season. That is the entire grid. Outside of that, the junior ladder is packed. FIA Formula 3 has 30 seats. Formula 2 has over 20. Across Europe, Asia, and the Americas, there are multiple regional Formula 3 championships, national Formula 4 series, and winter championships running every year. Altogether, that adds up to hundreds of available seats annually. Most promising teenage boys can usually find somewhere to race, even after a bad season. For women, those 15 academy seats are often the only realistic funded option. Winning the championship does not solve the problem either. When the first F1 Academy champion dominated the season, there was still no guaranteed step into Formula 3 or Formula 2. The prize was a funded drive in Formula Regional, which sits below Formula 3 on the ladder. Even that move depended on a one-off deal, not a standing rule. On the male side, a strong rookie year in Formula 3 regularly leads straight into Formula 2 shortlists and junior contracts. The structure expects men to move forward. Women are treated like special cases who must renegotiate their future every season. Other series have already proven that mixed-gender competition works when equality is built into the rules. When teams are required to include women, performance follows naturally. Formula One itself has not embraced that approach. It still waits for an exceptional woman to force her way through a narrow system instead of widening the system so talent can actually flow. And that brings us to the core truth. Formula One does not lack female talent. It lacks structural fairness. It lacks patience. It lacks imagination. The sport was built in a way that favors wealth, tradition, and familiarity. Women challenge all three simply by showing up. The question is not when a woman will be good enough for Formula One. The question is when Formula One will be brave enough to change how it chooses its drivers. Because right now, talent is not the only requirement. You need money, political backing, early access, and a body that fits the car without complaint. Until those things change, the grid will stay the same. Not because women cannot drive at that level, but because the system quietly makes sure most never get the chance. And when the next woman finally does arrive, it will not be a miracle. It will be proof that the barriers cracked just enough for talent to slip through. The real victory will be when that moment stops feeling historic and starts feeling normal.